Hi everyone, Kevin Prothero from Boomer's Workshop coming to you with another video log dated March 17th of 2020. Some really exciting things for you to share with you all that have occurred in the last 2 weeks as far as developments, as you can see from our agenda. This is the second or third time I've done this video log because I completely forgot to unmute my mic the first time I was recording, so definitely a pepcac error for those of you in the software industry that are familiar with that, or maybe just IT in general for all I know. Pretty stoked to be sharing with you. State of Stitchcraft is absolutely progressing. Once we got the prototype squared away with the art assets, we were able to get the Kickstarter preview page live, which you can click on the links below for that information. You can follow it along, which we'd really appreciate because that definitely helps us. The project page itself has been cloned onto our website, also linked below, so that you can see all the information that we have on the project page, even before the project launches on April 20th of 2020. So kind of to help with getting the word out, we're doing a follower campaign where the more people that follow the project page to get notified when it goes live, we'll put out some additional gameplay videos. If there are other things that you as a community would like to see, whether that's what our process is for creating cards and InDesign or anything along those lines, what our creative process is, I would love to give that content to you. We just kind of need to know what you would be interested in. So drop us an email, tell us in comments below, post in response to our blogs on our website. Just let us know what content you would be interested in consuming, and I would be more than happy to provide that for you. Perfectly interested in kind of helping other people learn how to make games, at least from how we are doing it. Again, the campaign goes live on the 20th of April in 2020, so we're a little over a month away. We have engaged some promoters to help us out, so I'm really excited to see what their videos are, but we won't get those until running up to the project itself. Again, do push out on your social media, get people following it. If you want to see more gameplay videos, we would be happy to produce more of those. You can see those on our website since the project page itself is not viewable at this time. That kind of wraps up everything that's going on with Stitchcraft, which is a lot, frankly. But I have not forgotten about Sanctuary Saga for those that are familiar with that project. We were actually playtesting it some more this weekend with Tyler. And so I'm pretty stoked to be kind of circling back to that project as things normalize with Stitchcraft, and it requires a little less of my time until the campaign starts. So big things to bring there. A lot of polishing, not only the gameplay itself, but the art assets will become the next major project for me. And I'm excited to be digging into that. That didn't make the agenda, but there's a little snippet for those that are interested. Currently, the games that I am playing, where to go? This weekend also got to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Change is Constant. This is the IDW adventure system. Really like the mechanics of it. It's a very approachable skirmish style game where a lot of times the information you need on whether you as a group versus the AI enemies will be successful in the scenario or not is face up, what I would say, where it's presented to you at the beginning of the game so that you know what your objectives are and kind of as a group can decide how to accomplish them. There are a ton of playable heroes in that system right now, which is a huge plus to me. I'm really appreciate how quickly it is. And as far as complexity and depth, I think it's relatively straightforward to understand. Strategy kind of depends on which hero you are. I think many of them are less point and click than others. And there are very much so room for more supporting roles. You just need to make sure that you balance your party composition when you're going into any given combat, because it is ultimately a skirmish-based game and somebody needs to actually be able to output the DPS. So just my mic, sorry about that. I think it's a very cool game. Check it out if that is something along your lines. It's think less of a Gloomhaven or Descent where you're kind of unlocking games and quote-unquote leveling characters as you go along, and much more, like I said, of like a skirmish-based game where you just want to play some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and bust some heads. So a lot of fun. I really recommend it. RimWorld is still the video game of choice that I'm investing the majority of my time in right now. I'm about to finish my first playthrough of that, like literally 45, 50 hours later. There's a ton of content. You just have to learn to play the game if that's the kind of game you're interested in. It really is a Firefly meets like a colonizing Mars style game or a Factorio style game. So less about production, more about the actual combat and survival. I really like it as a sim. It's very complex. I can't wait to finish my first game and then start in with a lot of the community-driven mods. I wanted to do vanilla first, and then there are a lot of quality of life mods that just make the game easier to play, so you can spend more time in the decisions and less time in the information gathering. So I'm pretty excited to get into that. And then the last thing that we're playing right now, I'm part of a D&D game. I forgot to mention the new campaign. I'm a level 9 warlock, so we're starting at a little higher level than we have in the previous few games with this group. This officially makes it the last character that I need to play in a campaign to have played all of them. So I'm pretty stoked about that and getting to try a warlock. I'm a hexblade, so I'm kind of our melee DPS for the group. We have a ranger and I think he ended up going abjuration wizard, so definitely the quote-unquote tank of the group. So it's been a lot of fun so far. DM homebrewed I'm completely blanking on the term. I apologize. Some homebrewed some rules regarding what our characters are capable of doing between long rests as far as travel and things along those lines. So it's just really cool that he created like some RP style. Oh my gosh, why can't I come up with this word? Jeepers. Human after all, right? Some role-playing resources that we have to invest between long rests. So it's not just like what are our max HP, but we also have like some endurance scores and things along those lines. And he's been working with us because at times it's felt painful as the players. So he's listened to our feedback and we've cooperatively adjusted some of those rules. It's really, really cool. And I think a very awesome way that an example of a DM collaboratively working with their players to make the RP aspects of the game a lot more interesting. And we've really been enjoying that process. And I'm sure he would be more than willing to share his ideas for those that would be interested. I would be happy to explain what those are. So that pretty much brings it to a close. Apologies on the brain fart in the middle of explaining the D&D session. So if there's any content that you guys are interested in, please let me know. I'd be happy to share any of my insights or thoughts from being a stay-at-home game dev. Be safe with COVID. I know my day-to-day probably hasn't changed, but I know a ton of families' lives are impacted at this point. So just be sure to look out for online resources for those who have kids. I know the Cincinnati Zoo is doing a live stream every 3 o'clock on their Facebook page that highlights an animal for, I think it's up to an hour. So that's kind of a free resource available to you. There are a ton of other things that I've heard of. So just make sure that you're using those resources and staying healthy. With that, have a great week and thanks for listening.